Thanks for tuning in to the Tom and Joe Auto Show, starring me, Tom Tharp, Zamboni driver, and Joe Gucci, JetLev operator. They're going to talk your socks off about everything cool in the automotive world. Welcome, Tom and Joe.
Hey everybody, thanks for tuning in to episode number 13 of the Tom and Joe Auto Show on a nice warm evening finally here in Florida. How's it going for you up there in Tennessee, Tom?
Warm. That's good. Good, Joe. Good. I appreciate that.
Well, you don't have the warmth yet, huh?
No, it's probably about 18 degrees out right now. My children have not been to school. They've canceled school for 9 days straight.
Oh, that's a lot different than the kind of weather we're having here.
9 days. It's just a lawless wasteland where I'm at here.
I'm sorry to hear about that, Tom.
I moved to the south to be warm and to avoid ice and multiple, dozens of inches of snow being dropped.
It's interesting that you would say that, Tom, because I heard you at the beginning of the podcast here mention that you're a Zamboni driver.
Yeah, have you, you're from up north. I'm from up north originally, Pennsylvania. You're from, Boston area, right?
Right. And
you've seen the guys working the Zambonis, right? You've seen a little hockey.
Oh, yeah, I've definitely seen it, man.
Yeah, well, I mean, you get back there. It's a weird seating position you're in, first of all. You got the wheel in a weird place. There's a variety of pedals, couple gear shifters. I mean, you're just working it. There's like, it's like, I mean, there's like a rhythm. It's like it's really sort of beautiful when you see it in action.
Yeah, and the crazy thing is, I don't want to point out the obvious here, but you're driving on ice.
How's that, dude? How's that possible?
I don't get it.
Well, it's just a delicate ballet. What can I say? I mean, it's like a ballet on ice, a motorized ballet. It's really beautiful. I'm kind of tearing up a little just talking about it. It's very emotional. It's beautiful. What I do with the Zamboni. I'll just say that.
Well, it's very different than my title this week. Complete polar opposite, I would say, of a Zamboni driver would be the jetback guy, the JetLev operator.
Yeah, that guy you see at the beach, okay? You go to the beach for your family vacation, and you just look out and you're like, what is this? What? And you look out and there's this guy in the water. He's got some sort of a water-operated jetpack. It's noisy. He's shooting up around, flipping. There's water going everywhere. He's like levitating.
Yeah, that guy's me.
That's you out there.
That is me, yeah.
Or are you having fun? What are you doing? Is this fun for you? I mean, it looks...
Oh, yeah, it's a blast, man.
Really?
If you haven't levitated like 12 to 15 feet above the ocean surface, then you haven't lived, man. And, you're floating around, and then you do the thing where you kind of turn upside down and dive under the water and come shooting back up. It's a blast.
I've seen that guy. Last vacation I went on, I saw that guy.
Well, I'll hand you a business card later. You can come out and check it out.
JetLev. I don't know. It looks like there would be a learning curve to it, Joe. I don't know.
Well,
hard.
There's not much to it.
Not at all. Just strap in and go. I like
it. That's it. Yep.
Well, folks, we have an action-packed episode. As always, Joe and I have put together a fine menu of podcast topics for you here today. We're going to kick off the show with a topic very near and dear to our hearts, and that is... We're just going to talk a little bit about the basics and a little history of the DSM.
The DSM, yeah. We've had some people that have asked us about what is a DSM when we've mentioned it in previous episodes. I had some guy tell me somewhere on the internet that he had to go ahead and Google it, and I was like, wow, yeah, we mentioned DSMs a lot, and if you didn't know what it was, I guess it could be pretty confusing, huh?
Yeah, especially since, the time is passing here. The last time a DSM was produced, 1995.
Yeah, that was quite a long time ago. I'm not going to say how long ago.
Time is passing. That's what concerns me. I was just brushing up on some of this, reading a little bit of the history, and when I saw that, I thought, oh, okay, 95. Last DSM produced July 1st, 1995.
Yeah.
I don't know. For some reason, it seemed like it. I don't know. That didn't seem right, but but the thing is, though, eclipses and things were being made past that. I don't want to get ahead of myself here, but they were being made past that. But that's when the official Diamond Star Motors partnership ended in 1995.
Right. That's right. And for the listeners that aren't sure what a DSM is, as Tom said, DSM stands for Diamond Star Motors. And this was a joint venture between Chrysler and Mitsubishi. And Chrysler and Mitsubishi had been working together a good bit before they formed Diamond Star Motors, right, Tom?
Yeah, starting in 1970.
Ooh, wow.
1970, the first. So what the position? I actually have a video that goes into some of this on my channel, and that's my buddy Nate's 1970 Dodge Colt.
Oh yeah, I've seen that video on your channel.
Yep, that was the Mitsubishi Galant over in Japan and other places around the world. And so what Chrysler wanted a small, fuel-efficient, compact car to be able to compete with other automakers back in 1970. So they partnered up. They took a 15% stake in Mitsubishi back then and brought over the Colt, and that was their way, these captive imports. It's a really interesting background story on that. There's if you ever want to search up on that. But that's where it all started, like back in 1970 with those two companies in that partnership.
Yeah, I read that at one point Chrysler was importing 110,000 Mitsubishis annually.
Yep.
Which is just kind of, at that point, it made sense for them to just partner up and do it for real.
Yeah, and we're reading similar history here, Joe. We're like sharing a brain here. We're just tuned in.
That's what we do.
That was the early 80s, and at the time, there were various laws and things about how much an automaker could import versus produce in their own. And Mitsubishi wanted to actually open their own branded dealerships in the U.S. And they started to. They imported the Cordia, the Tredia, and the Starion.
Oh, yeah.
On their own, and wanted to sell them on their own. But so this was all it was all like boiling over.
Right.
And all this until 1985, the first Diamond Star Motors officially became an entity, and that's like Joe said, Chrysler and Mitsubishi partnering up and becoming partners in this joint venture.
Right. Yeah. That's. It made sense at that time. So
they even combined their logos.
They did. It's the Diamond Star, right? Taken from the Mitsubishi Diamond and whatever you call that thing that Chrysler has.
The the Pentastar.
Yeah. I didn't want to say that. Sounds satanic.
I know. I think so, too. I was just going to say the same thing. I'm like, Pentastar. Isn't that some sort of devil thing? But anyway.
Yeah, so they formed their DSM, Diamond Star Motors, in 1985. Created all these cool cars, and not to shoot too quickly to the end before we talk about what they actually did, but they actually Chrysler sold its stake to Mitsubishi in 1993. Yeah,
I know, and we all think of those early years of the DSM as sort of the heyday, but the fact is that financially it was a total mess.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy.
Pretty much from the get-go. 1991, 1992, it was just a financial mess between the two companies. And, and really, when you look back at the formation of the company or the partnership, it seemed like they had it figured out. They were taking the Japanese automotive expertise, the technologies and their team production methods and things, and combining that with American marketing and certain production things that American companies had going for them, and combining that seemed like an excellent way to take on their competitors, domestic and Japanese, like Honda and things, who was coming on at the time. And it seemed just like like a great partnership, very powerful, but it just didn't come to fruition for various reasons, Yeah,
I don't exactly know why. It seemed like the sales numbers were good, and the cars were popular. There were commercials on TV all the time. I don't understand what happened.
Huge marketing back then, and that's why I think so many of us it's still, we have fond memories of those cars just because the marketing was very aggressive back then.
Oh, yeah. I remember seeing the commercials and thinking, man, I wouldn't mind having one of those cars.
Exactly, yeah.
So, yeah, DSMs, in our context, when we talk about them, we're speaking of the Mitsubishi Eclipse, the Eagle Talon, and the Plymouth Laser. I guess it's kind of the Galant VR4, though it has the same drivetrain, was a Japan-built vehicle and does not belong in the Diamond Star stable, correct?
Right. It was a separately produced vehicle, not produced in the normal Illinois plant, where that Chrysler and Mitsubishi went in halvesies basically on to produce these cars. That was still being produced over in Japan. Yep.
Right. Very similar mechanically, though, so sometimes gets bundled in, even though it's not really a DSM.
Yep. And I think one thing that people tend to forget, when you say DSM, you always think about the Eclipse, Laser, and the Talon. But later on, there's production in that plant of the Dodge Avenger and the Stratus and the Chrysler Sebring.
Right, okay, yeah, I know that they're mechanically similar to the second-gen Eclipse and Talon, correct?
Yeah, exactly. So there was all that stuff going on, too.
Yeah, so when you hear us talking about DSMs, that's generally what we're referring to is those cars there that we mentioned. Now, to get into some details about the cars themselves, they had a first generation from 1990 through 1994, which were actual DSMs, and then the 95s to 99s were, again, very mechanically similar, but not technically a DSM.
Yeah, that's where it gets kind of confusing. But
it does get a little confusing, but I think they're widely accepted.
Yeah,
as a DSM.
They've been adopted into the family.
And I guess what's funny to me, Tom, about the different model years they had is in 1990 it was like a standalone oddball version of that car. Like all of the electronics were very different from the following years. It's just kind of like the redheaded stepchild.
Yeah,
I'm not sure why that happened.
I'm not sure either. I mean, if you look at the production, the production numbers are hard to get your hands on. They're, I guess it's given the time, just the internet obviously not around back then, so a lot of this hasn't been archived in that way,
right?
Since it's pre-internet. But it's hard to get your hand on any detailed sales numbers. But those first couple years were sort of their ramping up period, and it looked like. I don't know. They must have just been on an early version of electronics and things. But you're right. They a variety of different components that didn't compare to the next couple years models. They were inferior, in certain ways.
And they had, I believe, they had an '89 model. I believe, right?
Yeah, the Laser was an '89 model. I remember the old Car and Driver testing that in '88.
Wow, yeah. So, yeah, they had the 90. It was a little oddball. It had the pop-up headlights, but in 91, they kept that body style for the most part, but they went to the 91 electronics that they kind of kept on through the 94 there. Some notes on the 91 model is that it's kind of widely known as the 6-bolt 3-bolt setup. 6-bolt 4-cylinder engine had 6 bolts holding the flywheel on, and it was a little bit beefier in the crank and rods and stuff like that. And then when they went to 92, they changed the body style, and they went to the 6-bolt. They kept the 6-bolt engine, but they went to a 4-bolt rear end instead of a 3-bolt rear end, which is a little bit stronger. And then in 93, they went to the 7-bolt, 4-bolt setup with some bigger brakes and kept that on through 94.
Yeah, and I think one thing that gets lost on a lot of the cars from this era is how striking they were to see in person back at that time.
Yeah, it's hard to imagine without being there.
Yeah, something like... I can recall that very clearly. I was in the old service station back then, and we had a customer that came in with a gold GSX,
Right.
a 90, 91 possibly. They were brand new at the time. I'd never even seen one in person. And she would roll in this thing, and it just looked like it was from another planet.
Yeah, definitely. Very futuristic.
So the looks of these cars now, we just sort of take that shape for granted, and we've seen it plenty. But it was a very, aggressive styling statement back then. And the interior, too.
Yeah, the cockpit design, was pretty fancy back then. Very futuristic and just driver oriented.
Yeah, I was just about to say that. Really driver focused, and you sat down in it with those gauges wrapped around you and the controls. It was just a really cool experience all the way around, and that's what made that car so unique back then. And yeah.
Very cool. I saw the commercials and things when they came out, and I saw them driving around, thought they were cool. I ended up, a girlfriend of mine had a 90 Plymouth Laser. That was the first one I ever drove. And I didn't really know anything about it. I didn't really know anything about turbocharged cars, but I knew that it was fast, and I was impressed, So that was kind of cool, and it wasn't until I started getting into modifying cars. I had a non-turbo MR2, and I kind of wanted to modify it and found out there wasn't much going on for it. So I looked in some magazines and saw that there were lots of parts available for Honda Civics. So I bought a Honda Civic, and then I found out that if you really want to go fast, you got to the single overhead cam motor in my Civic wasn't really going to do it. So when I started looking around, I came back to DSMs and just saw how easy they are to make fast. It just came with something to work with a turbocharged engine and all-wheel drive, and then from there, so much easier to make fast from that base vehicle you start with. And I was hooked.
That same here, Joe. That's definitely the appeal is, and the car always appealed to me. I mean, I remember it catching my eye. It won Car and Driver's 10 Best. The Eclipse did from 1989 to 1992.
Wow.
So, it was an acclaimed car, and, it was a great performer back then. I remember in stock form seeing it beat up on, in comparison tests, Mustang GTs and stuff, which were cars that were just like on a pedestal for me back then.
Right.
IROX and stuff, and here it is running the same, if not faster, in the quarter mile 0 to 60 and all that. But as time went on, and I went to buy my first one, it was the same as you're saying. It already had this great foundation. It already had the turbocharger. It had a good drivetrain. It had strong. Yep. It had all the good stuff to build off of. You didn't have to, like, if you have a non-turbo car, you got to figure all that stuff out. This already had all sorts of good stuff. And it was just a variety of doing these simple mods and getting the tons of extra power. That was the appeal.
Yeah, you had those free mods that we talked about last week. I feel like the DSMs were the king of the free mods.
Oh, I think so too.
There was the VFAQ, VFAQ.com online,
so
or was it
hours.
.org?
So,
whatever it was.
Still there. I've spent so many hours. Oh, the visual FAQs. Spent so many hours on that site.
Yep, lists of things that you could do for free or very little money that made real differences in the kind of horsepower the car made and the kind of traction, the launches you could get out of that thing, especially on the street. You could really surprise some people with that car.
Yeah, I mean, I remember, here's me. I ported my turbo. I've told this story before, but I took the turbo with me on vacation, and I ported it at my uncle's shop up in Pennsylvania, and when I bolted that thing back on, it felt like I'd entered warp speed or something. I mean, it was just like boiling the tires off. I mean,
that's amazing.
I know it was, and that's what's so much fun. What was so much fun about these cars is each little modification you did, whether it be you just rolled up your sleeves and learned and did it yourself, or you just did something simple like remove a little plug or something here and there. I mean, they were so rewarding. You were rewarded with this huge surge of power and torque. And, that was just addictive and fun, and you learned, I learned so much with these cars.
Oh yeah, definitely. That's where I learned most of what I know about wrenching on cars, was just following those online tutorials about doing stuff. And I think I've told the story before too, but the biggest eye-opener to me was when I removed the restrictor from the boost control solenoid. I took a little sheetrock screw and screwed it in where the little thing was, and I was like, this isn't going to do anything. And I pulled it back out, and it pulled out that little tiny O-ring looking thing.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, that must be it. And I put it all back together and went out on the road and put the pedal to the metal, and I was like, whoa, this is a different car. Different car.
Yeah, that's what these cars did. I mean, they did for both of us and other people I know. I mean, they provided a spark. And wherever that led you now, I mean, it's started that curiosity and a very rewarding experience after doing a little, pulling that little restrictor out of there or whatever and doing that yourself. It was just something so rewarding about, getting those results based on your own work and research and everything. And we're still doing that today with different cars, same cars, whatever,
Yep.
It's still as much fun as it was then.
Yeah, definitely.
DSMs
it's
now
funny.
hard to find now.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, if you look around online and do some research on DSMs these days, they're very difficult to find in good shape. Number one, most of them have been hacked up pretty badly, and they have this like bad name about them now. Like they're known to be unreliable, and it's like, it's really just like a lack of maintenance that's given them the bad name. With the the rubber timing belt and the cooling system on a turbocharged car. There's a lot of heat under that hood, and hoses get old and brittle. And if you don't do the maintenance the way you need to, change the oil like you're supposed to, keep the oil clean, you can end up with all kinds of trouble, and you can end up with a bad name.
Most sports cars from this era were complicated.
Yeah.
That's what a lot of people forget about. And this was maybe the most complicated, with the all-wheel drive and, the turbocharged setup and a very tight engine bay.
Right.
With all that turbocharger and all that stuff packed in there, with all that heat being generated. And so it's just a complicated car. And I doubt even most dealers that sold the things knew how to properly maintain it, really.
Yeah, really, there was a lot going on there, for sure.
Yeah, really, exactly.
But I'll tell you this, I got some quick numbers for you, Tom. You ready for this?
Oh, yeah, I love it.
The 4G63 engine in that car sits in the Extreme PSI Dragster, which has run, as far as I know, a best of a 657 in the quarter mile at 204 miles an hour.
Wow, incredible.
Brent Rao and his modified rear-wheel drive second-generation Eclipse.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
Door slammer now.
Oh.
682 at 202 in the quarter.
Wow.
And then the last one I have is Mr. John Shepard and his stock-bodied all-wheel drive Eagle Talon, 770 at 191 miles per hour. And you got a couple guys right now, Devin from Boost and Performance and Jeff Bush. They're catching them. They're both in the sevens right now, creeping up on John Shepard. That's a fast unibody car that just looks like a street car going down the track.
Yeah, you gotta love it and respect it. And some of the Evo guys aren't gonna like to hear this, but they're really just driving a 4-door DSM updated version. I mean, let's just be honest, Joe. Come on now.
No, it's true. It's true. It's definitely related in many ways, at the very least. All right. Well, if anybody has any questions, anything we might have missed when talking about the DSMs, go ahead and send us an email to tomandjoesemail@gmail.com, or find us on our social networking sites on Facebook, or maybe at our YouTube channel, and we'll see what we can do to get those questions answered for you.
Yeah, that sounds good. There's a lot to talk about when it comes to DSMs, and we probably just scratched the surface, Joe.
Yeah, I would say we have, and we can probably dedicate another segment to this without too much trouble. All right, let's take a break, and we'll come back with some more segments right afterwards.
All right, sounds good.
All right, Tom.
All right, welcome back, everybody. If you're enjoying the show, you know the best thing you could do would be to tell a friend. What do you think, Joe?
Yeah, definitely. Tell all of your friends. Be active on our social media, whether it be Facebook or Twitter or on our YouTube channel. We got a big response to last week's show. I really appreciate that.
Yeah, definitely.
We'd love it if you guys could keep spreading the word. One good thing you could do is you could go to the Tom and Joe Show on Facebook. Under the People column, in the left-hand column, there's a People section. You can click to invite your friends to like the Tom and Joe Auto Show's Facebook page, and we would really appreciate that if you could do that.
Yeah, and if your friends don't like it, well, I think it's time to reevaluate their friendship, Joe. Wouldn't you say? I mean, that's fair, right?
Yeah, that's definitely criteria.
I mean, think about this person's character now. I mean, really, you know? Anyway,
exactly.
That's for you to hash out there as an individual listener, but we do appreciate anything you can do for us. We want to grow the show. We want to do more with it, and we're glad that you're listening right now. All right, we're going to jump right into our topics here. We're loaded up on the second half of the show.
All right.
The first is a new reoccurring segment. You know, we've got some different segments on the show that we always have fun with. And this one is called Ballbusters.
Dun, dun, dun.
I like how we're over time developing these intros. You know, we bust balls. You know, we have a little fun. You know, whatever. So.
Oh yeah, ball busted.
So this one, I'm gonna pick an automotive topic, and
okay.
Joe, in this case, has to defend it.
All right, I can do that.
Well, you might want to hold off until you hear this topic.
Okay.
I'm not going to lob you another handed softball. This is... Okay, the topic you have to defend is autonomous cars.
All right.
Cars that drive themselves. You just sit there, and I don't know what you do. You browse Facebook and invite your friends to the Tom and Joe Show. You just sit there and do whatever. No. Anything but drive, I guess. You just sit there, and I don't know. Okay, so
you make it sound incredibly boring and make it sound like it's a waste of time, Tom.
Okay, you have another maybe angle on this you'd like to present to the audience?
Yeah, the truth of the matter here, Tom, is this is a very efficient way to spend time in your day. I mean, you have to travel, you know, whether you're going to work or you're going to the grocery store or you're going to visit grandma's house or whatever you're doing. You know, normally you'd have to be turning the old steering wheel, pressing the old pedals, watching where you're going. The autonomous car allows you to sit back. Like you said, the first thing you're going to want to do is pull out your smartphone and make sure that your friends are listening to the Tom and Joe Auto Show. The next thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to check your emails. You're going to want to check all of your social networking, because that's what people do. You're going to want a selfie, Snapchat, things you can't do while you're driving. But in an autonomous vehicle, you can do all these things without any trouble. And the number one most rewarding thing you could do in an autonomous vehicle is go to sleep, man. Take a nap.
Ooh, that's strong. Okay, you're coming strong in this first episode of this first version of Ballbusters here. I hear autonomous death trap. That's what I hear, okay? Okay, so I live in a place where it's snowy and icy, okay? These autonomous cars rely on lasers and little sensors and things. Oh, here I am in my autonomous car checking the face balls or whatever it's called, and I'm scrolling through that, okay? Oh, I've got a little bit of snow building up on my laser-guided whatever. Boom, slam right into the bridge abutment there. End of me, man. Okay? So what do you think about that now? This is...
I think you're underestimating the technology that's available to us in this day and age, Tom. I think that these laser-guided systems are way above anything that you're imagining right now. They can tell if it's snowing out. I mean, they have thermometers and things like that.
So you just have to stay home. It wouldn't even take you anywhere. But I want to go.
I don't know. That's up to you, I guess.
I don't know if well, you know what? You presented some good points, Joe. I'm afraid you've lost this round, though. I'll have to say, yeah, no. I think the host always wins in this one, but but I have done a little reading on this topic lately. You know, Google developing one. There is a hot rumor going on around right now that Apple is in this game somehow.
Oh yeah, that sounds like their game.
It does, doesn't it? And I don't know. Autonomous cars present an interest. You mentioned smartphones. You kind of wonder if you would even need to own one. It would sort of be like you hit up some sort of Uber type app, and some autonomous car just shows up. Like, why would you even need one, really? You know, it's like a little personal bus, like a personal public transportation for just you.
Yeah, that's an angle I hadn't even thought of. I was thinking about owning my own autonomous car, but if taxis were autonomous and you could just, like you said, you could just Uber one up, it would swing by, pick you up, you wouldn't have to talk to anybody.
I'm making your argument. What am I talking about? You would still definitely die in it, though.
Well, I don't know. Real quick, I don't know if any of our listeners know this about me, but I have a real fear of robots.
Oh, seriously?
Oh, yeah. They're going to take over the world one day. Mark my words.
Oh, well, yeah, like Terminator style. There's no doubt about that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Skynet.
Well, that's...
It's listening.
You know, we're getting older, and that's how you know. We're afraid of robots, you know? Drones scare me. I'm going to be honest. The sound, that sound, it freaks me. There was one flying over me at the shootout. Just flying over, just hovering over all of us, having a conversation. And we couldn't have a conversation with that thing. We weren't comfortable, you know?
Yeah, well, you got to be careful what you talk about when they're around, too.
Yeah,
you know?
I feel like it's like watching me. Yeah, it's very strange. So, anyway, a good rousing round of ball busters. We'll try that again sometime.
Yeah, that was good. Very good.
Okay, our next topic, you know, we're going to talk about a little good and the bad that comes along with one of our favorite websites, eBay.
eBay, yeah, there is some good, there is some bad. I feel like as soon as you bring eBay up, when you're talking about automotive subjects, it instantly has a negative connotation.
Yeah. You know, I think the main reason is they provide this nameless, faceless marketplace, and they don't enforce bad products. They don't enforce the removal of bad products or bad sellers.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? You know, there's this feedback system, but a seller can sell junk forever. Like Amazon has ratings. Like, you know, you see if a product is good, it's based on products, not sellers and buyers. In Amazon, you see if something has 1 star or 4 stars, whatever. On eBay, you know, you see this electric supercharger chip or whatever, and you know, there's no talk about the product or reviews or information. It's all, you know, so it's like sellers can sell these crummy products for years and there's no repercussion from doing so.
Right, and when you have these less than well-made products sitting next to well-made quality products, and you look at the price difference,
that's a big
it makes
problem.
it real easy for you to just choose that cheaper product thinking you're getting the same thing, and that's just, you just got to be really careful. In my experience with eBay, I've had some good experiences and some bad experiences. You know, for example, back when I had my old red Laser, you know, Project Goodwill Laser, it was a car on a budget.
Great one. Love that.
I did a lot of looking on eBay for parts and seeing what I thought could perform well enough for me on a budget. And one of the things that I bought and worked out really great for me was a set of no-name brand, I called them eBay coilovers.
That's what's great about eBay. they're like, you know, you might have Edelbrock or something or whatever. You know, it's just eBay is a brand of performance. They're in the performance game. eBay coilovers. I got that eBay turbo, that eBay intercooler. I mean, it's like...
Yep, I see that now. I see turbos for sale. eBay 16G, like it's the brand.
I love it. I love that. Sorry to interrupt. Okay.
Nah, no problem. So those coilovers, I spent $40 and I threw them on a set.
You can't get a decent dinner for $40. What in the world? How did they do this?
I don't know, but you know, I got the tried and true KYB AGXs on the car, you know, and I just threw those $40 coilovers on there so I get my ride height right and get my weight transfer right. You know, with the use of some rubber spacers and stuff, you know, I ended up cutting some good 60-foot times. That car's best 60-foot was a 1.50 60-foot. Not too bad.
No, that's real good.
So, you know, there's the positive experience that I had on. I didn't really want to call it an experience anyway on eBay, but. On the other hand, one time I bought a tubular exhaust manifold.
Oh man, those are the worst.
Yep.
I've never owned one. I've heard lots of horror stories though.
Yeah, I think it was the SS Autochrome, the infamous SS Autochrome.
SS Auto. That's the great thing about these sellers too. These crazy names they have, you know. So you either call it eBay or you call it something crazy like SS Autochrome. Sounds like one of the Transformer characters.
It does, yeah. Oh boy. Anyway, so it was DSM flanged. I was running a stock turbo on the old laser, and sure enough, I was at the shootout, trying to show off or something, and pretty much the entire collector snapped in half.
Oh.
I had a buddy of mine, luckily, at the shootout that had a welder and was able to fix it up for me, and as soon as I got back home, that thing went away. That was not working for me.
Yeah, the materials are too thin, and that's really, actually the design, I don't know if they copied a good design or something, but the design wasn't bad as far as fit and everything. It was just the materials being too thin and not reinforced properly and everything, right?
Yeah, definitely. That was it. That the parts, they always seem to look pretty good and feel pretty good in your hand when you first get them, but then you find the shortcomings pretty quickly.
Yeah.
So,
it's just interesting to me. I mean, there's a whole industry of these turbos made, these like knockoff turbos and things. And to go through so much trouble to make it look legitimate, but it's still inferior. It's such a, I don't know. There's a foundry pouring liquid metal and there's machining and there's people but it's like they're making something that's a broken widget right from the get-go. It's such a strange process there, a strange market. But, well, my good and bad, I've tried my best to stay away from the eBay Motorsports products. I did try on the Galant, I did try that wastegate.
Oh yeah, that's right.
But I didn't use it as a wastegate. I would never use it as a wastegate. And
oh no,
no, I wouldn't trust that at all. I used it at the very tail end near the muffler as an exhaust cutout, and it actually did fine. But I will say, right out of the box, not fine. It leaked. It leaked like a pig. I mean, air came out of this thing everywhere. I mean, just every place it could leak from, it leaked from. And so, the thing is, there's like a tolerance for it. It was cheap enough to where I was like, well, all right, I guess I'll just fix it. So here I go, brand new right out of the box, this SS Autochrome wastegate or whatever. I'm tearing it all down. Oh, here's the reason. Junky pinched O-ring. Okay, put some decent O-ring in there that I had laying around. Oh, here's another reason. Stripped little nipple, vacuum nipple fitting. Oh, take that out and fix that. So here I am futzing with this thing for a couple hours, fix it. It doesn't leak anymore. And and it worked all right. But it's just funny. You get it, and it's like pre-broken for you. So that's my bad. And the other bad I've had some bad experiences selling cars on there where people just back out.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and they just don't. eBay doesn't seem to enforce that terribly well as far as people just being able to just back out of an agreed upon auction. It's just really strange, but good experiences on there. I mean, I've sold a lot of things on eBay over the years, car parts. I mean, just stuff I had laying around the house that I thought was completely useless. Old stereo equipment. I mean, car stereos that I thought were absolutely useless. I would put on there, and wouldn't you know, someone says, "Hey, I happen to have one of those and I really liked it and mine went kaput, and I've been looking for one of those 1989 car stereos, Pioneer, whatever." So, and somebody snags it up. So, and I also like eBay for old car brochures and stuff.
Oh, yeah. There's lots of that on there.
Yeah, great resource for that sort of thing. So there's good and bad. You just got to be careful on there.
Yeah, you got to be careful. You got to kind of really do your research, and I guess sometimes the parts are okay kind of for placeholders, until you can really spring for the part you actually want, and sometimes the parts might work for a long time, and sometimes you just threw your money right out the window. So just be really careful when you're shopping on eBay for car parts.
Yeah, that's a good tip, Joe.
All right, Tom. Well, I guess we have one more segment here for this show. We have a listener question. And on my notes here, I don't have the name of the listener who sent this question in.
Darn. I don't see that either. And, yeah, this is a good guy. It's escaping me right now. Darn. Well, we'll have to give him a shout-out on the next episode.
Yeah, we'll do that.
He's a good guy. He's been listening to our show all along here, and I think he sent us another question before. So our apologies, sir. We will give you a shout-out on the next show.
Sir, fine, sir.
What a gentleman he is.
All right, this listener question is, hey guys, what is the craziest thing you have done with your car wrenching hobby that your significant other has not approved of?
Where do we start with that? Okay,
Well, we have an example here. Do you want to give his example?
Yeah, let me read his example because I really like it because it's great.
All right, yeah.
Excuse me. When I was installing the fuel controller on my Turbo Miata, I'd gotten a bad fuel controller right out of the box, SS Autochrome. I did not know that it had malfunctioned, and it was pulling full boost fuel at idle. All that unburned fuel had to go somewhere, and so it went right out into the exhaust pipes where it leaked around a half gallon of 91 octane fuel all over the floor of the garage. That's a lot. Needless to say, my wife was not pleased. She also didn't like me using the kitchen table to bench bleed a master cylinder before we had the house. In my defense, it was a crummy table to begin with.
That's good justification. I
love
like
where
it.
He's coming from with that. Oh, so
nice.
Those are two pretty darn good examples. And, wow, like I said, where do I even begin?
You have one for us?
Oh, boy, he's looking for the craziest. I mean, I just have so many. I mean, for me, it's just sort of categories of bad behavior. Like, he mentions car parts in the house.
Right.
That's a general no-no. As you get older, you get a little nicer house, you settle down, you fix it up, you're married for a while, however many years, whatever. And, you start to get the house nice, you get nicer furniture and things, you just get nicer stuff as you get older. You settle down and you plant yourself. Well, here's me bringing, I'm always one to bring car parts in the house. I just can't help it. I don't know why. I just can't quit doing it,
Well, it's a nice, comfortable area to work on them. If it's hot outside, it's air conditioned in the house. If it's cold outside, it's heated in the house. It's good.
And I always make excuses like right now, I have an entire Chevrolet Performance, LS wiring harness in the house. And now my justification is, look, it's too cold to have it out in the garage. It's like 20 degrees out there.
Oh, yeah.
I need,
definitely.
It'll be brittle and things. It'll hurt it. It needs to be in here so it can stay pliable. And plus...
100% justified.
And plus, I'm like studying the thing, It's like when it comes to me and wiring, I like have to study it for weeks to understand it, and I want to have it in my head. I don't want to like read a book. I want to know it. So, that's why it's in the house. I'm like looking at it. It's staying nice and warm and snuggly, and so that's kind of the other thing. Let me tell you, is so we have these. I use iPhoto, and we have these huge photo galleries. So digital cameras. You take pictures of everything now with your phones and all that. Anyway, the screensaver pops up on the computer.
Right.
It even comes up on the TV, the Apple TV, all of our family photos. Well, I don't know, 80% of those are car parts. So there's 20% family photos, places we've been, 80%, the turbine housing of a Grand National.
From 12 different angles.
And there's something about Apple. Steve Jobs, someday I will meet you, and we're gonna talk about this. We're gonna have a serious talk, because for whatever reason, these weird car pictures, these reference pictures, show up way more often than anything else. I mean, this wrong end of a turbo from a Grand National, this oily, dirty mess, will show up 3-1 versus our trip to wherever, to the beach or something. So it's those two things mainly that the wife kind of goes crazy over.
Right. And does she have like a look? Do you get a certain look and to just turn around and go back outside?
I don't even think a look is necessary anymore. There's just like a pheromone or something. It's just a feeling, the force. I don't know what it is. There's a disturbance in the force.
Well, I hear you a little bit, Tom. Of course, I'm a single guy, so.
Oh man, it's just free. You're just you just got car parts and the dishwasher and everything over there.
Well. Occasionally, I do bring my motorcycle into the living room.
Motorcycle.
Where it's more comfortable to work on it.
Yeah.
But no, I remember, there's been times where there's been a lady in my life, and I've done things like fill the washing machine with dirty rags and wash them in there.
Oh, I still do that. You just got
it leaves a big black ring around.
Yeah, you got to wipe that. You got to get some degreaser and wipe that black ring out. Yeah.
Oh yeah, you use like silverware as tools,
Ooh, yes, and I've ruined some butter knives that way for sure.
Butter knives are it, definitely. Then you got you need a place to keep a bunch of nuts and bolts or to drain some fluids into. There's lots of good pans and bowls in the kitchen,
Oh my gosh, yes, I've done that. The other day, my wife was out in the garage, probably a month or two ago, and she saw I pulled the drawer open and there was one of her nice wooden spoons in there. I used it to mash down Dynamat that I did a few years ago.
Oh no.
And she was like, there's the medium wooden spoon, the medium size, because we had like a small and a big one. And
right.
For whatever reason I needed the medium size and to mush down the Dynamat. And yeah, that was an unfortunate discovery at a bad time.
Yeah, that's rough. You kind of gotta. I don't know. It seems like a good idea at the time.
How'd that get in there?
Oh man, I love the dishwasher idea. That's where all my stuff is going from now on.
Yeah, man, it's like your own personal parts washer.
Yeah. Squirt a little bit of parts cleaner.
Gojo.
Degreaser.
Put some of that Gojo gel in the little compartment.
Oh man, anyone listening to our show right now, do not take any advice about this from us if you have a significant other that's living in your home with you.
Yeah, I always love when I see somebody doing a build thread. It's my favorite thing in the world, and they're either the parts are accumulating in their house.
Yep.
In the carpet, like the nice carpet and everything, or they're actually doing some rebuild of something in the house. It's just my favorite thing in the entire world because it just takes me back to a time when I could get away with that stuff.
You know what's my favorite thing in the entire world, Tom? Is when I'm working on my motorcycle or building an engine, being able to watch baseball or have a sandwich or anything that I can do inside my house.
Oh, wow. Bravo, Joe. Well done.
Yeah. So that's the life.
Complete freedom.
All
Very
right.
nice. Yeah. Oh, that's fun. Well, folks, if you have any stories like that, please share them with us. I don't know. This might be a recurring segment. This is gosh, I'm just thinking of 10 different more examples of wrongdoing I've had over here. But if you've got an example of this, please share them with us. We'd love to hear that stuff.
Oh yeah, I'm sure that there are some good stories that you guys could send in to us, and we'll definitely bring those up on the show. This is something we could talk some more about. As a matter of fact, I think this is the end of episode number 13, and I feel like it would be really easy to do this show all over again with the DSM talk and the eBay talk and the pissing your significant other talk off talk.
Oh, these are timeless subjects.
Absolutely. Well done, Tom. Thank you for joining me on the show.
Yeah, this has been a fine episode. Yeah, good talking to you as always, Joe. Well, thanks everybody for joining in and listening, and please do remember to tell a friend, and we'll see you next time.
All right, Tom, and I'll talk to you again soon.
All right, see you.